All right, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for coming back to our NIH workshop on leveraging existing data and analytic methods for health disparities research related to aging and Alzheimer's disease and related dementia. Very happy to have our speakers this afternoon to end our workshop, and we have a very packed schedule, so we're going to move pretty quickly. Our first speaker this afternoon is Dr. Partha Bhattacharyya from the Office of Research Resources, and he's going to speak on opportunities of using longitudinal data. So Dr. Bhattacharyya.
Thank you. I will share my screen. Just give me a second, and I hope this works. Should work. Are we good?
Yes, we see you.
Okay, great. Thanks. So just as information, my email contact is below. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a line. I always seek feedback, and I'll try to launch with a disclosure that I'm required to provide. I'm going to provide views, whether they're expressed or not expressed. They do not necessarily belong the official representation of NIA, National Institute of Health, or Department of Health Services position. So please be mindful of that and do not hold the government responsible for my views. Thank you. So with that said, what I promised Igor was give a longitudinal perspective and talk about the data resources we fund at National Institute on Aging. But I had to narrow the landscape because within National Institute on Aging, there are 4 divisions. I am just representing the Division of Behavioral and Social Research. And if you want, and this does not encapsulate my talk, data resources supported by my colleagues in the Division of Gerontology, Division of Neuroscience, and Division of Aging Biology. So please be mindful of that this is not comprehensive, and it is not meant to be comprehensive because I couldn't have covered all those arenas. Even on behavioral and social research, what I did, I tried to curtail back, and I left some time in the end so that you can ask me questions or provide feedback on what we should be thinking about. So to give you a snapshot of our data inventory, and again, this is a subset, please keep in mind, we have AdHealth Parents, right? This is American Life Panel, which used to be at RAND, Health and Retirement Study, MIDAS, NHAT, NSHAP, PSID, and WLS. When we mean longitudinal, right, it's over time we are asking people questions, reaching out to them over time, right? So you can see when some of these cohorts started, right? From MIDAS, it started at the age of 10, right? And then you move up to PSID and other studies, it's later, right? Health and Retirement Study, it starts at age 50. Many of you may know that, and it goes on. But what you see here, many of our studies predominantly start at when one ages, right? And this is that striking figure that comes out, right? So with that, all of these studies that I've just mentioned, they have longitudinal data collection. They're either collected with the frequency of 1 year, 2 year, periodicity, and some instances more than 2 years, maybe 3 or even 5. Just keep that in mind. So one of the studies that we have been studying, supporting for more than 2 decades now is health and retirement studies. Many of you may know about it. Over the years, what you see is peer-reviewed articles on the right. These are all, again, peer-reviewed articles. I have to use this slide because I couldn't find the most recent one. It has over 20,000 respondents at this time publicly available, and it's a multidisciplinary data source which includes data from health, healthcare, wealth, family structure, work history, psychosocial, and cognition. I'll delve deep into cognition in the next slide from health and retirement study because NIA is supporting a lot of research on dementia. And it's important to highlight that out And again, I'm not going to do it for every single study. I'm just going to go over one of them, right? So health and retirement study is also linked with Social Security and Medicare data. I'm going to talk about that a little towards the end about new opportunities, upcoming opportunities that will be coming up. Over the years, health and retirement study also have collected blood and got assets completed. And you can get all sorts of measures, right? And if you want to look through some of their in-person measures, right? For example, you can get grip strength and other measures that are only done in person. Genetics data is available from DPGAP, and it is nationally comparable. Towards the end, I'll leave a slide called Gateway to Global Aging, which has sister studies of health and retirement studies. Again, just to remind everyone, I'm not going to focus on all the studies, NIA funds specifically, not even BSR, my division funds. And this is just an example. I'm not going to talk about the sister studies where you can conduct cross-national studies, right? So this is the map for health and retirement studies around the world. Next, let me just do a deep dive into just Alzheimer's disease and cognition. So as individuals age, they experience cognitive impairment. And what you see are some of the measurements that we have in ADAMS, which is supported by HRS, various cognitive measurements. Again, I'm not an expert in cognitive measurements. I'm actually an economist by training. And you can see how these measurements overlap with other studies that you may be familiar with. And if you go expand this, right, and say, Partha, can we actually compare cognitive measurements around the world, right, longitudinally, that is. And again, you get the view here of ELSA, which is the English longitudinal study, Halsey in South Africa, Charles in China, Lassie is in India, MHAS in Mexico, right? So across the board, what you're seeing here is harmonized longitudinal data collection of cognitive measurements around the world. Next comes MIDAS. Again, I'm highlighting a handful of studies, and I'm not doing a comprehensive job. And I specifically say this is not meant to leave out any studies. It's just because of the time constraint, I had to cut back on what I could do. So MIDAS is, again, a long-run study supported by NIA. It's a unique study design. It focuses on long-term cumulative psychosocial factors in midlife and later life. It's neurobiological mechanisms and pathways which psychosocial factors contribute to health. That's the mechanisms and how, and it has detailed measurements across the board, right? Protective psychosocial factors, what protects someone and what doesn't. They have a good battery of tests that's conducted, and there are multiple studies. And again, this is just to give you a glimpse. The data is available at NACDA. Again, I'll put a link of NACDA towards the end. There are a lot of other studies available, NIA-funded studies available at NACDA. So you can capture it from there. NHATS is a study that we started almost a little over a decade ago now. It's a national representative studies of about 8,000 individuals. The sample size has grown a bit just this year or last year at this time. And the idea here is to track disability life trends, right? And trajectories of disability. That's one way to put it. It's a multidisciplinary team design that plays trajectories of health and functioning and consequences of older adults as they age. How are they doing, right? Specifically, as they age on the disability performance. It captures environmental aspects of disability, and then it crosswalks to other surveys. So it connects with National Long-Term Care Survey for long-run study trends, and we have supplemented NHAT study to look into caregivers, right? These are respondents, caregivers that are tied to NHAT's population, and how does caregiving work as one ages? The data is available at nhatsdata.org, and you can get that access. Panel study of income dynamics. This is, again, an old study, but it's a longitudinal study. It provides great insight. And again, it's 1968. I think that's the key. So you get intergenerational data, right? Not just one generation, but multiple generations you can observe. What you see here is employment, income, and wealth data, expenditures, health and marriage, childbearing, child development, and education. And how does that impact health over a long term is what we focus on. This data will also is linked with CMS claims data, and it may be of interest to some of you. Again, a snapshot, and here's a snapshot of National Social Life Health Aging Project, or NSHAP, which is run out of University of Chicago. This is a long-running study that is looking at social factors to understand well-being of older community-dwelling adults between age 57 and 85. What is their life like at that age, right? The project examines physical health, illness, and medical use over time, cognitive function and emotional health, sensory function, health behaviors, and connectedness, and specifically social connectedness. NSHAP happens to be one of the premier studies, if you again, this is my opinion, that you want if you want to learn about social connectedness and on how it works. Sexuality, this is one of the known studies, and it had a great article back in the days that highlighted. And then relationship quality over time and what is happening to older adults. NSHAP provides, again, policymakers and health providers and individuals with useful information and insight into these factors. Data is available from NORC, and you can grab it from there. Now, what I thought I'll spend some time on is give you more of a teaser of what is upcoming and forthcoming data resources. And these are the data resources that will come with the blend of claims and electronic health records. So just be mindful that I'm not guaranteeing when they will come, but I think the horizon is within the next year. Not guaranteed, but within the next year. First up, it's the CMS data linked with NIA-supported studies. And this is when I say NIA-supported studies, it's across all of our divisions, right, including intramural studies. You can find information from medric.info, that if you go there, you're going to find the studies that are available. And this is basically the studies consent individuals and link them to CMS claims data, right? When they're above age 65, you get high frequency data, literally as the claims are filed by physicians on the type of care one is getting and the life events specifically focused on health. So it's very valuable data. So to date, what we have done is link the following studies. Again, it's not generally available. I took out, pending NIA approval studies. So health and retirement study has been linked. Some of you may actually use it. PSAD, NLTCS. This is an old study, and Duke folks may be familiar with this. We continue to update this study, so it is available. NSHAP has been linked. LLFS, WLS, RUSH, Health ABC, this is an intramural study, and BLSA are intramural NIA studies that have been linked. Project Talent, some of you may know about, has been linked. NHATS, again, NHATS sampling frame is from CMS, so you get 100%, close to 100% linked data if you're using NHATS, which goes in the field every year, linked with CMS claims data. Understanding America study, Care Ecosystem study, NHATS, and useful view of training. Our hope is to expand this and make it publicly available, and we have a plan for that, and which we soon hope to reveal with many more of you. Lastly, something that is up and coming, and this is, I'm the program officer for NIA Impact Collaboratory, but when it comes to getting rich electronic health records on older adults, there's a lack of data. And this is the data that will come out of nursing home systems across the board, across the United States. So what are we looking at? We have at least 12 large nursing home companies, close to 1,000 facilities, all use one EMR system, point-click care. We have gotten agreements done And the idea here is to get all data in one place. The data is already being used for COVID tracking and uptake of vaccination to adverse events reporting. But the original basis of this was to launch pragmatic trials. But we see this as a data resource that can potentially be used by researchers to conduct secondary data analysis. And this is what it looks like at this point, the data sharing cooperative with 12 nursing home chains across United States. So again, this is just to give you a teaser. This is not, I'm not saying at this time the data is ready, data will be ready. We are, I think, at 1 or 2 nursing home completed data transfer. We're going to go through rest of them and get that done. We hope to scale this up over the years, but within a year, this data will be publicly available to NIA-funded researchers that can be you should be able to use it to conduct analysis. Now, some resources, the NAGSA, I mentioned it a couple of times, so I'm leaving the link there so you can grab it. Gateway to Global Aging, this is where you get data for NIA-funded harmonized study with health and retirement study, right? IALSA is also there, and then this is our homepage. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. I'm always looking for feedback. There are numerous, strategic guidelines. Many of you read them, but I never get to hear from you what we need to do, right? How can we make data available, right? Think of me as someone who would love to have your feedback on how to make data available, because most of the time you don't have people asking for that, but I do, and I try to implement them. That's my job, actually. So one part of my job. So if you have ideas, how we can make it better and equitable. Not only certain types of researchers getting access, but researchers getting access across the board, it will be great, and we would love to hear from you. I highlighted a few things, but skip that, and then I'll go back to resources, and I'll end it, Dr. Bird, right there. Thank you.
Wonderful, Dr. Bhattacharyya. Thank you so much for that very informative presentation. And as he said, he's looking for ideas and questions and thoughts about what kinds of resources should be made available and where to go from here. We don't get that question every day, so this is a great time for people to raise their hands and to ask questions. Alina, do we have any questions in the chat?
Yeah, sorry, Dr. Bird. I should just, I would love to have that information. I cannot guarantee any outcomes, right? I just want everyone to understand, because I am a federal employee at the end of the day. I try to take the information, remember my disclosure, right? I love to, just remember that, and I'd love to get questions. And I'm writing them down as we speak.
Okay, great. Thank you. Are there questions in the audience?
Can I ask?
Yes, please go.
So, thank you very much. It was very, very impressive. We actually received responses to many questions we had. I had and I received from my colleagues. It was very, very informative. Thank you very much. So, I see electronic question from attendee. Let me ask you. Do you have any suggestions about accessing data for older adults who participate in Medicare Advantage programs?
Yes, it depends if they're going to be linked with NIA-funded studies or they're just asking for, CMS data, right? So one thing I didn't talk about, you can get access to CMS claims data independent of whether they're linked to NIA-funded studies or not. At this time, we're doing the linkages, but the MA data comes with a lag time of almost a year to 2 years. You can obtain MA data from CMS directly on the population. Otherwise, basically, you have 1/3 gap, because 1/3 of the population are in MA plans. You have that hole in there at this point.
There's a clarification, Igor.
Yes, clarification from this attendee. I'm asking about linked data to NIA studies. So do
Yeah,
we have...
so yeah, we are actually linking Medicare Advantage data, and the lag time is 2 years. So if we do the link for 2018, we are approved to link up to 2018 at this point. You're not going to get data, only going to get data up to 2016. Does that make sense? It's a lag time of 2 years you're dealing with for MA data.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, could I ask a question?
Yes, please go.
Please.
Okay, it's very good talk. I think it's you will have a lot of questions from us. I think I support you in this. And my question is that you know that many researchers in the US use UK biobank data, so it's very popular these days because it's more than 500,000 people with a lot of different kinds of useful information for studying different aspects of health. And my question is that we have now several, maybe 12 or even more HRS type studies. Is there any possibility to put this kind of data together and get access to them through NIH?
Yeah, so I'm going to break that question up so that I make sure I understand your question, Dr. Yashin, first, because I think you are asking a very important question, but I need to make sure I understand it before I answer it. You said HRS type studies. It can mean two things. It can mean the HRS family of studies, right?
Yeah.
Or it can mean HRS type questions being asked across other NIA funded studies that are linked with CMS claims data. So can you just tell me which one you're referring to?
Yeah, that's a very good point that you could. First, I thought that about just HRS type study, which are performed in different countries. But you mentioned that there are several other studies which have very similar questions. That's we could even extend this question then.
Yes. So if you go to Gateway for Global Aging,
yeah,
here you get all HRS family of studies, right? Harmonized data codes available, so you can run comparable variables in a nutshell, right? This is the easiest source that I can refer to you at this point. Gateway to Global Aging for HRS family of studies.
Just could you tell us whether they are in the same kind of shape? Do they have all data genotyped?
Yes.
Okay.
Not all of them have been genotyped. Not all of them have been genotyped. Not all of them have administrative data like CMS data. You're not going to get it. But many of them ask the same questions. Some of them has gotten some blood work done. Others didn't. So there are some holes in there, but they're comparable. Remember, I went over, sorry, I'm going to try to go back to my slide just on HCAP, because I think that may actually help you. This is the one where I think, hello? Yes, this is the one where, you know, I gave it as a comparison, what we have for HRS and how it's comparable data across the world, right? For example, if you look at ELSA, world recall is asked across the board around the world, right? But not MMSE, right? Which is popular in USA, but not asked across around the world. Does that help?
Yeah. Thank you.
I think this is what you're asking, right? Are they asking the repeated harmonized questions around the world? The answer is yes for HRS. If you go to that source on Gateway to Global Aging, you're going to get it.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Great. Is there another question for Dr. Bhattacharyya? And Doc, we have a little time left, so if there are any final comments or things that you would like to share, since we have a little bit of time left, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, sure. It's, one thought again, it's whenever I'm in the audience and I ask this question, what are the barriers to entry to using administrative data for junior scientists, right? What, again, if someone feels like, answering my question in the chat box or Q&A, I'd love to know that, because unless someone calls me up and tells me, Partha, I cannot get the data because I don't have access, I don't know, right? That's what I would like to know. What are the other, right, with the quality of data produced, right? Data is available. Everybody knows that, right? But are you guys happy? Are the researchers happy? Again, these are questions I ask. Are they user-friendly? Can you use them? Because it's important, because what we want to do is drive down the opportunity cost. Not everyone has an RA, right? And get the usage up, right? And it's important for our junior investigators, specifically because they lack the resources that some senior investigators may have to give them the edge they need.
Okay.
Okay.
One more question is about omics data. Do you plan to collect omics data, just metabolomics and different kinds of stuff as well?
So I rather punt that question because I am not well equipped to answer that question. Maybe some studies, NIA-funded studies, will do. I know at least there is a division of neuroscience. They are collecting some omics data. Will it be, if you're asking Dr. Yashin, will it be done for the studies that I went over? I'm not sure at this point.
Okay, I will check then. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's a good, you have a great question, Dr. Bhattacharyya, around how do junior faculty particularly get access? And I think this should be a part of their training, access. This is not going to become something less. It's going to get bigger and more complex as time goes. And so I think opportunities for training and workshops such as these would be very helpful for junior faculty across disciplines. I mean, these data sets are those that can be used by any number of types of researchers. So I think we have to make sure that we're getting the word out and getting the training done, which is not that terribly difficult, but helping junior faculty to understand that these resources are available and they're very useful.
Yeah, and one thing I think about is leveling the playing field. And I give my personal experience. I had an advisor who had access to federal funding. Because of that, I could get access to all types of administrative data, whether it's from Social Security Administration or CMS, right? That's not the typical experience. And what I take away from that experience is how to make it better for everyone, for those that do not have access to those resources, because that's how we raise the field, right? And raise the bar for everyone.
Absolutely.
And that's how you make it equitable. And that's why I come back, and whenever I am asked to give a talk, I ask that question because I would like to know how to break barriers and silos on data sharing.
Yeah. Yep. Great. Let's see, is there another question? Is there another one? Let me just look in the chat quickly. Okay. I think we're good.
Okay, great. So I'll stop then. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. We really needed that.